Hi guys, if you are new here, welcome to my page. My name is Jonquel and I am a professional fashion illustrator and I am particularly good when it comes to digital fashion illustration. Now, one of the things that I get asked the most about is shading, particularly shading skin. So that's what I'm going to be going over with today, how I shade skin in my art style. Key points being my art style. One of the things I like to recommend to people is learn the art style from some of your favorite artists and pick at the things that you find interesting and bring them into your own style to create something unique. That is how I ended up learning to do what I do. I learned from other people. I said, I like that, like that. And I combined them together and I created my own way of shading skin. So today I'm going to show you how I work. I'm going to be working on this um, 90s era Princess Tiana piece that I have here. I'm going to show you how I do her skin. I'm going to give you some tips and tricks on how you can do yours as well. Okay, so the first thing is I'm going to go down to I always use in my tutorials I'm always going to use brushes that are already in Procreate. So you never have to worry about buying brushes if you're following along with me. I'm always going to show you how to use the ones that are in Procreate. And the main brushes that I use are the round brush. You can find that under painting, the round brush, and the gouache brush. Those are my main two. I use them to paint with and I use them to shade with when I'm doing skin. Every now and then you'll see me use another textured brush, maybe if I want to give like a different like skin textures, maybe like Villalago or like full freckles. And I'll go over freckles as well in this video. But for right now, we are going to focus on shading. So, I already mentioned who this character is. So, first things first, I'm going to show you how I would normally shade her in the skin color we're familiar with her with. And then I'm going to show you how you can mix it up and you can get literally like hundreds of skin tones out of one shading technique. So I'm going to go ahead and get myself a brown. And I usually like to go in the oranges. So I'm going to get myself a brown here, use my color picker. I have my brown brush selected. I'm just going to go ahead and color her in like I'm doing a coloring book. I can do a little bit faster than that. I already have her hair and everything colored in because on this episode we are only doing shading of the skin. And this is also going to show you how I do some people who have maybe a darker complexion. But like I said, I will go over more than one complexion with you. So I'm going to quickly just color this in. Okay, now that I got my base color in, and I always keep my base color separate from my other layers. And the reason I do that is, let's say I don't like this color. I wanted her to be a different color. All I have to do is drag and drop if I want to try a different color. And you don't even have to do that because you can go to the little wand up here and you can do hue, saturation, brightness, and you can siphon through different colors. Oh, now she's the Hulk. You can, now she's the Martian. You can literally siphon through all these different colors because we kept it on a separate layer. So since I don't like, I'm going to go back to my original color. Now that I have that on I've already explained why I keep things on a base layer, and I'm going to go one layer above, and I want to shade, but I don't want my shading to go outside of the skin. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a clipping mask layer. And to do that, I'm going to create a brand new layer on top of the first one, tap the middle of the screen of the new layer, and I'm going to go to clipping mask. That's going to clip that layer to the layer underneath it so that anything I draw has to remain on the layer underneath. So no matter how crazy I get, it's not going anywhere. It's going to stay right there. And I'm going to make this layer my shading layer. I like to do my shadows first and then I do my highlights after that. That's just the way I work. Um, and I personally never do my shadows with the same color as the skin color for most cases. For example, I'm not going to shade her using a dark brown. I'm going to shade her using a warm or cool tone depending on what you want the image to give. Especially if you're working with a background or you're working in an environment that's maybe outside or has a lot of sun, that's going to determine what tone you use. And you're going to use a blending mode. For blending modes, you see how it says this little in here? That means normal. You're now in a normal state. But if you click on the end, it's going to open up this little tab and it's going to show you blending modes. I love to use the mode multiply. When you use multiply, pretty much it's going to darken everything. It's going to darken everything underneath it, but you're still going to be able to see through it. It's not going to be a solid color. I'll give you an example. And I apologize for not using technical terms. A lot of this stuff I learned on my own. But okay, I'm going to pick like an orange here. And you see when I draw, it covers everything in that orange, right? But if I switch this layer and I start filtering through the blending modes, you're going to see each blending mode is going to give it a different effect. I always tell people, play with your blending modes. You're never going to know what you're going to get. And I want to use multiply. You see how multiply just changed that to a dark brown for me? And it's no longer solid orange. I can kind of see what's going on underneath. So I want to keep in multiply mode, but I'm just going to erase what's there because I'm just going to clear the layer. Click and clear. So I can clear that layer. I'm still on multiply. What I want to do is I want to lower the opacity on my brush. I don't want a solid brush. And my favorite way to add in warmth is I like to go to a nice purple or blue. And if you want it to be warmer, you go more magenta. If you want it to be cooler, you go more, more toward a violet or a blue. I'm going to go more magenta. And I'm also going to change my brush from the solid brush to a gouache brush because I don't like my shading to have harsh lines. Me personally, now if I was doing an anime style, you know that anime style tends to have like harsher lines when they're doing shadows. I'm not doing that. I want softer blends, so I am going to be doing using my gouache brush. I'm lowering the opacity. And by lowering the opacity, I lowers the intensity of the brush. And so I'm going to be shading in my style of shading. I always look to big-eyed art, and they always have that extreme shadow going across the eyes. So that's why I like to do that here. Like I said, this is my style of shading. I know that she is going to have some straight-up savage cheekbones. You see how it looks like I'm using a brown, but I'm not? And the reason why the purple works so well, because again, what if I don't like that skin tone? I can go back. I can switch the skin tone. And the shading will still work because it's on a multiply mode and I didn't use a brown. So this will allow you to create endless illustrations out of one. And when I'm shading, I like to watch a lot of makeup tutorials, and particularly drag makeup tutorials, because they teach you a lot about how to frame the face and sculpt the face. And also when you're doing this, pay attention to where you want your lighting to come from. Now, this particular girl, she has the spotlight directly on her. So that's why you see me shading at the sides. But if I wanted to, we can go put the shading more on one side of the face. So like, it's like the spotlight will be coming here. The easiest way to learn lighting, and if you want me to do a video on lighting, please leave a comment on that, is to get a lamp, stand in front of the mirror, and take pictures of yourself with the lamp facing you at different parts of your face. And take pictures of that and use that as reference. Extreme shadows will help you learn how to shade a face so quickly. down into her arms. Now, I don't really worry about realism too much when it comes to my drawings. I've created my own art style that lends itself to what it is I want to do. And that's the fun thing about having your own style. You can literally tailor make your art style to what type of artwork you want to do, what type of offering you want to give people. Are you an animator? Are you a comic book artist? Are you a person who does products like me? You can literally tailor your art style for that. Okay, now that I have this drawn, I want to blend this. So I'm going to hit the little brush up here, the little finger smudger, and I have it set to gouache again. And the reason I have it set to gouache is the same thing. I do not like sharp lines. And I feel like when you use the round brush or the opacity round brush, it looks to me, like airbrushing. Like I can immediately tell you've been playing with that airbrush. I want it to be as smooth as possible. And so when I'm playing with the strength when I play with the opacity, and I'm just gonna go in like small circles and blend that out. You don't want to blend too much because then, like I said, it can get muddy. But you see how smooth that got? And now if you want to, you can do a lot of push and pull. You can go back and you can add more shading. I can darken the color that I have. I'm actually going to make it more blue. And I'm going to darken. I'm going to go in here and add more shadows and shading. Like I said, keep it subtle. I work on a lower opacity. Or is it higher opacity? But I want it transparent. Like it's almost like working with watercolors. You want to go from be able to build up layers, and it's so much easier that way, and it keeps things very, very smooth. I'm actually going to blend her upper lip too. These cheeks are going to be snatched, honey. And this way you can get darker shadows where you want them to be. Blend that out. It's all about going back and forth, back and forth. I'm taking my time. I'm not speeding it through. It's a balance between learning how to take your time with something and knowing when to move on. Now that I have that, I'm actually going to go back and lighten her skin just a tad bit. Just a tad. I'm just going to push this up. There we go. And, or you can go the opposite way. I could literally have gone in there and I could have darkened it by giving her a darker complexion. Whenever I do darker complexions, I am actually working with like a purple. That's actually really pretty. It just blends in too much with her hair, but that's really pretty. And if I wanted to make the shading work with that, go right back up to hue and saturation and just darken it. See that? Now see, it blends with her hair a lot, but let's say if her hair was like black, look how that pops. And then you would add your highlights and it make it even better. Let's reset everything. There we go. Sometimes I forget that if I want to just go back, I just take 2 fingers and press, and it does it. See? 2 fingers to gesture control. Haven't been able to turn it off, but it comes in handy sometimes. There we go. Making sure she popped from her hair. Now that I have that, I want to add some highlights. Because her skin was like a mermaid tone, I want to add some highlights, and I'm gonna do a clipping mask again. Clipping mask. Now it's clipping it to the original one. It's going to be clipping it to the skin. It's not clipping it to the multiply layer, so don't worry. And I'm gonna put this on screen. Screen tends to make anything you put on it lighter. I'll show you, like right here, since I have this dark color selected. But if I do it on screen, you see how much lighter? That is not that color. That is a much darker color. So if I take it back to normal, you'll see the real color. That's what color it actually is. But on screen, it's much lighter. That's gonna make doing your highlights a lot easier. So I'm gonna go back to my gouache brush. I'm actually gonna color drop the color that she is, and I'm gonna put a little highlight in here. A little bit of orange. We're gonna put some softness and warmth back in here. So I'm gonna put some highlights under her eyes. And again, I am following what you would see like makeup artists do. Round her nose out this way. I'm going to put that highlight on her forehead. You can put a little light down her nose if you want. On her chin. And then I'll put some on her skin at certain points. I'm not worried about how I'm placing it, because remember, I can go all off screen. It's not going to ruin it. I'm just putting it in places where I want the light to hit. You see, it just brings the life back into it. Because like I said, it can get a little bit muddy if you only use shadows. And I'm going to blend this out. And I'm only blending the edges because I want the color to stay there. I'm just blending the edges. Like I said, it is all about that push and play. I'm going to go back here with lighter color. And this is where you actually begin to shape the face. Like you can literally, this is where you shape the features. You can make somebody look more innocent, more siren-like. This is where you make it happen in the shading. Want some more goldish highlights on her too. Down her chin, there, here. This is gonna be like a little facelift, and I'm gonna put some right here, in the corner of her eyelid, and at the top of her eyebrows here. Little highlight on her nose. Now you can take this same technique and get even more intense. Like sometimes you'll see people do this lighting trick. So I'm clipping mask, turn it to sheen again. But this time I'm gonna get a luminance brush. I'm gonna get the light brush, and I'm gonna go even more extreme with these highlights. And I'm gonna blend that out. And this is how you see how some people, when they're doing those like really, really epic drawings, they have that like one, that strong extreme highlight. That's how they do it. But I don't really need that for this drawing, so it looks a little bit out of place. I can turn it off. But that's how you can play with different highlights. Now on the other end, if you wanted to do like something creepier and go darker, clipping mask again, set it to multiply. And I want it to be darker. So I'm going to drop that in there. And I could take my eraser and you can go in and selectively erase like what you want to show. And now all of a sudden, now you've got like mystery and shadow and stuff. I was about to curse, I'm sorry. So it's fun to play with these things and see all the different techniques you can have. And that is the basis of how I shade my characters. That's a good starting point, especially if you're a beginner. Play around with those different techniques. Play around with the different blending modes. I'm going to go ahead and finish her out. And that is it for this episode of Jonquel Art. This is the completed version of her. If you are interested in learning how I do the makeup, I do have a video on my page that shows you how to, gives you a more in-depth look on how I do digital makeup. I also have a in-depth look on how to shade lips so you can do shiny lips like this. This one right here was just all about showing you how to do the skin. And as you can see, once everything comes together, you have a beautiful illustration. Thank you guys so much for joining me today. If you like this video, please leave a like, a comment, and please subscribe, you guys. Please follow me also on IG and TikTok, especially if TikTok goes away. I need you guys to be following me here and following me on IG. In the next coming weeks, I will be doing one-on-one coaching to help people develop their own art style. It does not matter if you are using Procreate or watercolor or traditional. We are focusing solely on getting you an art style to give you a head start on the career that you want to have as an artist. Thank you again for joining me. Love y'all.